Hey, welcome to another quarantine chat with Team Kamikaze. This week, I'm excited about our guests. We've got Greg and Marcus from the Tuskegee Heirs.
Yeah.
Hey
guys.
How's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Glad to have you guys. We miss you so much. Basically, the purpose of these quarantine chats is to catch up with all the fellow creatives that we would have met at conventions. Of course, this year conventions are not happening. So how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing this year?
Started off great. We had the Black Comics Festival in Harlem. That was great.
Oh, wow.
And we had C2E2. It was equally great.
Yeah.
And then,
Had high hopes. High hopes.
Yeah.
We were getting ready to go to Seattle for
y'all don't understand. Like, we had this whole plan. Like, we were
Emerald
about to
City.
rail off, like, what was it, like 11 conventions in 3 months? It was going to be great. We were going to make money, meet fans, have a jolly old time.
Right.
And instead, we're just cranking out work.
Yep. We feel that.
I feel guilty. I keep telling people it's weird because as an artist, you stay in front of your computer for many hours a day, and I don't normally talk to strangers on in my comings and goings. So it's like it's kind of normal. I'm doing the same thing I always do, but I now have an excuse
Right.
to just do it more often, and
Absolutely.
wear a mask and stuff. So.
Right. At last, my time has come.
Yeah,
Marcus, I guess for like our process, the only thing different is that we a lot of times will meet up like at a coffee shop or something like that, just to get out of our regular environments, and so we haven't been able to do that. But phone and video, like chats and all that kind of stuff, have really been helpful for this time as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I mean, we're all lucky that we're being quarantined in this day and age where we have so many options to kind of work remotely. So
Right.
Yeah.
that's great. So how are you guys, how have you guys been staying busy during quarantine?
For me, I can say, like, normally I've gotten to a point in my career where going to shows kind of mitigates me taking on freelance on a regular basis, because I can go to a show, I can make a good handful of cash and say, yeah, this is rent, bills, I'm good. I don't have to take any commissions, or if I want to, I can, but I don't have to. And then take away that good old fashioned weekend money.
Yeah.
And now it's like, 14 people are like, hey, can you do commissions? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Let's do commissions. And it's fun, to keep that part of my brain exercising, just random. Can you draw my character doing this? Yes. Can you draw me on an album, skating on cereal box? Yes, I can do that too. Let's go. And then Tuskegee Heirs production has been, normally, we'd be talking about pages and books and all that stuff because we'd be on the road or in a hotel, and we're right there. So all of that stuff is just a little bit different in the same sense, but just now you have to balance, like, you got to actually make sure you get rent money because it's COVID times. So, yeah, it's been a little bit of an adjustment, but not too terrible. Not too terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, Greg, you right before 2020, you also transitioned to being a full-time creative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know, it's like 2020 is just the universe. I think Thanos is
Like,
behind all of it.
Bad idea. 2020 was like, quit it, cut it out.
I've been trying to tell them to just cut the safety net for years. I'm like, man, come on, man, just quit your job.
Well, why did I do it this year? Shouldn't I have done it, a different year?
Right.
That's cool.
Trying to get you ready for this, man.
Hey, yeah, thanks.
So you're probably feeling the pressure as well.
So the thing about it is I had like I did pretty good saving, money and all of that stuff. So I haven't felt like I was going to get more money. So, in these conventions, I already planned it out how much personally, I felt like I was going to be able to make.
Right.
So, the thing about it is that money's still going to come.
Yeah.
It's just going to be, later. So I've taken this time to really, work. I got a couple of checks for like doing some writing, like some editing stuff, like behind the scenes. And then I'm working on some new projects that are, that I'll be releasing with a couple of other creators. So, just trying to be, stay working at this time, because I'm not to the point yet where I have to go, collect cans or anything.
Yeah. Speaking of new projects, I know that both of you have been cranking out a lot of new work. Greg, I want to especially focus on Villains and Vinyl.
Ooh.
Tell us about that. What's that?
I have a poster downstairs. So you guys know Dedrin Sneed?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dedrin came to me. He was like, I got this idea. Want to see if you want to work on it. We're both like real big, hip hop fans. Like, like the elemental, like real hip hop, not what you not to crap on what you see today, but I'm talking about the real, and Marcus and I, we had a whole hip hop website business, because it was we threw events and all of that back in the day. So Dedrin came to me, he showed me the idea, and I was like, yes, let's go. I actually got Marcus, because I can't, like, I just know, like, you can try, I'm sure you guys have like the same deal, right? If you guys we depend on each other when you're trying to do characters and all of that. So I got Marcus to do, the character designs that like we wanted them to have, just because I know he's going to do it, how we want it. It's really weird because we have our main character is a plus size young lady. And so the first person, like, we had a whole write-up, sent it to him, and right as day it says plus size, but then she comes back like, 98 pounds. So I was like, let's just get Marcus to do it. I'll pay his hefty fee, and let's get Marcus to do it, because Marcus will keep the integrity of what we want. I was like, dude, had to look at the write-up like 3 times. Like,
right.
That says plus size.
Yeah, just send back an edit and say plus size, and we'll find the right plus here eventually.
Then she'll be like 120 pounds. Like, no, I need to be able to sit. So Marcus cranked it out. We do have another artist. I don't want to say just yet because everything hasn't been kind of locked all the way in, but there's an agreement. So we have an artist that's going to actually do the pencils for the book.
Oh, perfect.
Nice.
Yeah. So
it looks really good. I love the poster that Marcus has put together.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like combining your 2 passions together.
Yeah. Look, unbeknownst to most people, Marcus and I met. I had an idea for a hip hop comic back in like 1999. And that's how I was introduced to Marcus. Yeah. And so we created that. 20 years ago. And that was our whole start into, doing this.
Would you guys have ever imagined that you'd still be working together now, years later?
Working together, I could say, I think so. I don't know, like doing comics and everything. Right. I don't know if I could have imagined that.
Right.
Yeah. Now, another work that you write for, Greg, I'm a fan of it, Search for Sonica. Tell us a little bit about that book and how you came up with the concept for it.
So the search for Sadaka is I'm getting rusty, man. When's the last time we did these pitches, Mark? So, you were used to like railing it off. We do it like every weekend.
Now just practice in the shower. When I get in the mirror, I'm like, Tuskegee Heirs is futurist sci-fi action. Just to make sure I don't get rusty. Yeah.
So it's a historical action adventure. It takes place like in 1920. It actually derives from the Black Wall Street, the race riot. So, yeah, it's a young lady. She's like 13 years old, and she's kind of basically escaped from that. And, she's basically going to go on this mission to find this long-lost place where she believes that she's a relative of like a great race of female warriors.
Okay.
So there's some history. I think I said there's a little bit of fantasy. The first issue is kind of like, regular world, but we're automatically going to jump into some cool stuff in the second issue. So I'm really happy with it. We're working. My artist, Shannon Sapinter, he is doing the pencils. He's awesome. And he's Art of SVS on Instagram. You should follow him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we're cranking out the second one. Had really good like reviews of it, which of course makes you happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so and why I started it, I was watching all these Black Wall Street documentaries, and then I went to sleep. This was a few years ago, and I had this. It just came like in a dream. You know what I'm saying? A little girl who was kind of. She was able to escape, and I just woke up and I was like, what happens? Like, what would happen? And then I started going. I started writing it because I was trying to do a novel, but then we were having so much success with Tuskegee Heirs, and I see and I'm sure you guys see it with Kamikaze as well. When people come up, and it's not even just kids, but people that look and they're like, ooh, I see a character that looks like me, and like the type of connection you get from that. So I was like, I want to do a comic.
Right. And
so again, I had Marcus help me with the character designs, all of that. And he actually is the one that found Shannon on Instagram. So we reached out to him, and that was over a year ago, and now we're cranking.
Amazing.
Nice.
And I love that you guys weave in history into your work. I think that's just so cool. Especially history that,
as a history nerd, like I love it. Like I really, really love it. So, actually,
stuff that doesn't really get touched on too much in like mainstream.
Yeah.
It also makes me really happy whenever I run into like there was one point where Alan and I were at the Air and Space Museum, and we ran across the exhibit with some of the Tuskegee Heirs stuff, and like I actually sent them pictures of some of the patches and stuff from the original Tuskegee Airmen, and I was like, this is so cool.
Right. It's really, one of the side projects Carrie and I have worked on as an idea is one that's supposed to help like build passion for like young kids in getting into museums.
Mm-hmm.
And I think naturally what you guys have done with Tuskegee Heirs and what you guys are doing with Sadaka, they're already leading into it in some ways. Like you're building a passion for history, through this vein, through this back channel, which is really, really cool.
Thank you for helping me have nerd out conversations with children about Tuskegee Heirs and, history and stuff. I appreciate that.
No problem.
So Marcus, I've always been curious, like how do you pick the properties for your mashup, your universe mashups?
I wish.
Like right now,
I wish there was like a list. And I'm like, I'm gonna do this, 6 months from now. I'm gonna just put it out there. It is not chosen by me, man. I wish it was.
Right.
But many of them are like, I'm either doing something online or I see something or I'm watching something and it's just like, huh,
Yeah.
huh. And I Google and I look up stuff. If I don't find it, if I don't find tons of, I guess the only times where I did that same process, where I Googled to see if there was fan art already in generation or in circulation or whatever, was with Sonic the Human. There's a gajillion pieces of fan art for Sonic being human.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't care. I don't see enough black characters, so I'm gonna try it anyway. Yeah. So, but no, there is no list. There's no rhyme or reason. I think Greg said it best. We was at the table at a convention, and he's like, man, I can't really be mad at Marcus for, you know, doing fan art, man. He's like, you know, I've seen him get those lightning strikes of inspiration. And, you know, I said, he was like, who am I to get in the way of that? So,
Oh yeah.
because it's just random. I promise. There's no rhyme or reason, but
Right.
that's, I think, what excites me the most. I'm a character designer, and a lot of the fan art is from that core of being a fan. So I'm just like, man, why hasn't this happened before? So,
Right.
Okay.
When you think about it, like when we're kids, we're like,
Yeah.
man, it'd be cool if G.I. Joe could fight with Transformers and
Right.
didn't understand contracts and how stuff really worked.
Right.
So, you know, it's like when I see it, it just like always takes me back to being a kid, because I was always like, what if, like, I was last night I was watching the old Thundercats, and it's terrible. It was great when we were little, but if you watch it now and you say it's great, then I question everything else you ever say. But I remember, like, even back then, you know, because there were similarities to He-Man, and I'm like, man, they should fight He-Man. And when you got the toys, you know, there ain't no contracts. You're just all over the place. So it just makes you feel like a kid again, man.
No, you hit the like you know, you're exactly right. Like, I love, Marcus, your Instagram and your Twitter is so much fun to follow, because like your art is so playful. Like, I can tell you just have like a genuine passion. There's like this little boy in you who just wants to and Goku go ahead.
Right.
Yeah, okay, that's the one that I'm just like completely floored by. Like, all the others that you did, I was like, okay, I can see that, but Popeye and Goku, what the hell?
Right. Yeah.
I need a Dragon Ball and a can of spinach image. I've been meaning to talk to you about that.
Just Dragon Ball and spinach. Just.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're totally right.
But
I think that's when I get the goosebumps, and I'm like, oh yeah. And I see, but the true curse of it is I don't just see the images I post. I see everything. I see the interactions. I see the filler episodes. I see the just nonsensical, ridiculous fight scenes, all in moving animation, all complete.
I
Japanese
love
animated and everything. So yeah, I have to pause and say, well, I'll draw just that.
Right.
But yeah, I get to just relish and play inside my brain and be like, oh man, episode 6 of that would be awesome. So.
Yeah, I love that. Like, not only is the fan art fun to look at, but I always read the descriptions.
Yes,
that's the best I can do. Thank you. That's the best I can do to basically not go crazy, because it's all there. I'm just like, Vegeta talking to Olive Oil. That'd be it goes something like this. And you know, the spin-off, the spin-off stuff where I'm trying to, when I thought of that, I'm like, what would be the most unlikely, you know, interactions that would really throw fans off, but it would totally make sense, and it all happens so, you know, seamlessly in my brain. So I'm just like, oh man, I can't wait I've already seen, you know, other characters merging in my head. So when people are suggesting, oh man, do this one next, do Mr. Satan and, you know, Wimpy eating, or I'm like, listen, I've already seen it all. It's gonna happen. But thank you for following. That's the stuff.
So can it be like Wimpy and Piccolo? That's where I was going. Like, in my
I don't really know if that was really merged, man. Like,
I feel like there was a couple of times where Popeye was like, hold Sweet Pea real quick,
right?
And you know, Piccolo is a glorified babysitter, so I think it worked.
But no, that mashup stuff really works.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I think the one image that I've done, which was completely off the cuff, that's been like the most popular image it did, and it's not related to Kamikaze at all. I did
Yeah.
like super quick painting of like of the big chicken in
Marietta.
Marietta as
Yeah.
like as a Gundam, and
Oh, nice.
it was a
Nice.
stupid image. Like it's
I remember that. I
it's like
remember that.
it's got like like sauce squeezers as like it's cannons. I have sold more prints of that on Redbubble.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
Yep. I'm
That's
not
the good
surprised
stuff,
at all.
man. Yeah.
It's
So,
And-
Marcus and
Yes.
Greg, you both are very prolific creatives. What does
Thank
a
you.
creative rut look like for you guys?
You said what is a creative?
Right.
What does a creative rut look like for
Rut.
you guys?
Oh, rut.
Mhm.
Go, Greg.
Now look at me. No. I mean, I think
Putting them in a vulnerable spot. It's okay. This is a safe space to be.
Dang, a rut.
it's gonna be on the internet.
The internet.
No, I mean,
That's fair.
I think like we've gotten into it. So I think we're both like perfectionists at what we, when it's stuff that we really, really, really care about.
Yeah.
And so I think, as you know, it takes us a while to produce an issue. Part of that is like just letting it come together organically. Like we'll already know what we want to do, and we'll have it all pretty much scripted out, but it still like comes organically. So right now we're literally down to like the last page of
Issue.
issue 4.
Mm-hmm.
And we just 2 days ago we finally wrapped it the way that we want to where it feels great.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the rut is just trying to make the best thing that you can. And then also, I mean, the fact of the matter is like if we were getting paid like full time to just do this, then I think production would be a lot different. But Marcus doesn't have, the conventional day job. So he earns money off of the art that he creates. So I can never be like, hey, stop taking out money and, go live with your mama, so we can get this book done. You know what I'm saying? You can never do that. So if he's got commissions and stuff that's going to keep him and, then that's how we're always going to defer to that.
Right.
Mhm.
That's it. I truly believe like if you put guns to our heads and locked us in a basement and gave us bread and water,
We'd finish in like a week.
we could crank out like
Yeah.
a ton of work.
So,
Mhm.
So like I
That's
said,
true.
if I continue my sourdough habit.
Get the water though. You need the water.
Right.
Preferably like alkaline.
Yeah. I agree with what Greg is saying. It's all that's the truest form of a rut in my mind is, either you're not happy with what you're putting out or you're genuinely trying to make the best product you can.
Right.
And if you that differs, that quality line differs for everybody.
Right.
Some people are a lot of independent creators, especially because they're making a living on their product and they go to shows, and so they think volume means more money sometimes for them, and sometimes it doesn't work that way. But we've seen creators that are like, all right, man, I got 12 books, but the quality doesn't really get people to stay at the table, or it's not festering the kind of reaction they're hoping for. A gentleman at one show, he was like, yeah, man, this show is terrible. I only sold like 2 books the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And
That was that hero.
No, that was he came to Heroes too, but it was at Tidewater.
Oh yeah. Not gonna say
we did great at Tidewater. And it's not to say we have something necessarily, it's not better or worse. But when I walked over to his table, I definitely, tried to take a look at the books, and He's like, yeah, man, this whole convention is terrible. I was like, it's not really been that terrible, man. It's got a lot of good people that's come by, and I think it was an equal, fair share. No one was placed in a certain better position in that convention. But again, he had about 5 books on the table, but all of them were not up to a quality standard that me personally, would say, well, I mean, it's not really that great and quality-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's your style, that's your style.
Here's a question for all of you, including Alan and Carrie. So how do you balance, like, I think you're right, Marcus. You can't just crank out subpar work and expect it to, move books. However, perfectionism is the enemy of done. How do you balance that? I know, Alan and Carrie, you guys struggle with that balance as well. Like, how do you know when you guys are like just too far into the perfectionism trap?
Usually because you pointed it out, Havana.
Why I asked it.
Buddy system.
Somebody fishing right there.
Yeah, there have been several nights at like 3 a.m. where I was like, it's good enough. Let's ship it. I think the mantra for me has always been like, when I can imagine myself being minimally embarrassed releasing it. Good to go.
Okay.
Like I'm always going to be dissatisfied. There's always going to be like 1 or 2 more things I could always tweak on it. But
Worst feeling, man.
Yeah, and the problem is at some point you hit sort of like that 90% done, and it could take you another 3 weeks to figure out what that last 10% is.
Yeah.
And unless it's really worth those additional 3 weeks, it's not worth it. Like at some point, and this is one of the beauties of having a webcomic. Like we can crank out a page, post it that week, and say, well, next week I've learned something, and we can move forward and evolve it.
Yeah.
And people are willing to tolerate that. And
when we publish, we correct everything.
Yeah. we get to back and sneak in that one little thing that didn't quite make it in the last time.
Yeah. I think for me, a lot of it comes down to the question of, is this going to confuse the reader, or is this going to I guess my perfectionism comes down to like, okay, I want to make things as understandable for the reader as possible. And if there's any room for the reader to get confused or to get distracted or to get, taken out of the story, like that's what I'm really trying to prevent. So like Havana and Alan also get onto me all the time about continuity errors and stuff like that. But I'm like, look, if somebody has a thing in one hand in one shot, and then the thing's gone in the next shot, that's a continuity error that's going to take time. So I try to put my foot down on a lot of that stuff, but it's like, if I can look at the page and say the shading isn't quite right here, and I really want to fix it, but it's 3 a.m. and I'm tired, and Alan's just like,
making frowny faces.
They're not going to notice. No one's going to care. They're just going to see the shading and be like, that's badass.
They're going to notice. They're going to notice.
I mean, they'll notice, but it's just keep going.
Right.
But it's just like, I don't know. For me, it's sort of like, what's more important? Is this as so important that it's going to hurt the story?
Right.
So if it's going to hurt the story, that's kind of how I take the initiative and sort of say, okay, that needs to be fixed.
Yeah. I've had moments, and Greg has to ask as a non-artist. Greg asked, I think issue 1 was, I think the most extreme situation. We had the whole book mapped out. We're on page 21 of a 22-page book, and I'm like, nah, I need more pages, bro. I need more pages. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, let me just work on some stuff. And I come back with like 4 or 5 pages just to I said, I need room for the action scene.
4 and 5 turned to 8. Like in your mind, how did you just say 4 and 5 when it was 8 pages? And yeah. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But keep going.
Greg was like, I remember his silence. I was like, okay, so here's what's gonna happen. I need this, and this is gonna happen. I was like, otherwise the fight scene gonna last for like 2 pages. I was like, that's not enough. I need to follow up. I need to see what happens after the robot gets hit. The explosion needs its own page. All of this stuff. And you know, Greg's like, I hate you, but this looks really good. All right, go ahead.
The other day, it's like this guy is like, I'm gonna start designing this motorcycle. I'm like, cool. And then, you know, a couple of hours, like 3 hours later, I'm like, hey, so with the motorcycle. And he's like, dude, you think designing this stuff takes, you know, just a short amount of time? And then he shows me like this immaculate. I'm like, God, you're just supposed to design it. I didn't tell you to make it to where we could drive it. Like, he just, but it's the thing that I appreciate about him is so we kind of offer each other these checks and balances all the way around, you know. For me, like, I have this inner monologue. Like, Marcus knows, like, whenever I come up with ideas, ever I start writing anything, I don't share it with anybody except for probably him. And so when my inner monologue shuts the hell up, you know, because he's always like, yeah, this ain't ready. This ain't ready. This ain't ready. When he shuts up, then I be like, okay, I can show it to somebody, you know? And when I, you know, it's just a thing. I can't really control it. It's just got to be done right. Like even with Sadaka, like I had the script and I was like getting ready to send it to my print guy. And then I was like, yeah, but boom, now went back in, you know, do the whole thing again. And then spend like a day, you know, editing, you know, word for word to make sure, you know, punctuation, all that stuff is cool. Yeah. And Marcus helped. I had another person doing the lettering, but when it came down to like that real time, be on the phone, hey, can you take this period out? Can you add that? He was there, you know, to help with all of that. So but yeah, it's just that part where you're like, okay, the inner monologue said, I guess somebody else can look at this now. And then we're good to go.
And then as the perfectionist goes, you know, as the comic for Tuskegee Heirs, it does take months for us to do an issue. So I've improved sometimes, skill wise, and we get to page 30, and I'm like going back to 1. I'm like, oh God, no, no, I need to look at her face. It's off. And Greg's like, no, what's wrong with it? I'm like, shut up.
She's fine, Marcus. She's fine.
Fix. And I'm literally redrawing like sometimes entire character faces, or you know, the pose was off, and I'm just like, dude, God, I can't believe I was about to say this is okay. No. And Greg just has to
she's
sit
getting
back,
ready
man.
to sneeze, but it looks like she's getting ready to cough. I need to fix that out. That's Marcus.
Yeah.
I love that. You guys have a really good balance between the two of you.
It's actually really interesting because I think the group that I know that has a very, like, you guys are the closest to the same balance as our group has. Like, it feels like you guys have that very, just the whole idea down, and you know, like, where one sort of falters, the other one picks up, and like, so it's very interesting, like, talking teamwork with you guys, because it's sort of like there's been points where people are always asking us questions about how do you handle the team, and it's sort of like, well, you just do what's right for the project.
Especially when you've been talking, you know, we're both creatives. We're both processing the world in our heads respectively. Sometimes we have moments because of the rifts in time where we're like, I don't remember saying that. We did not say that. When did you, you know, and we literally have to meet back and be like, all right, let's go back to the beginning.
The email from 2016 says,
if you'll look at the receipts, really on page,
you don't remember the day after at New York Comic Con, after we talked to 5,000 people and we were on the ferry, and I said blah blah blah, you know.
Right. I'm like, man, if you say so, if you say so. But we have like literal, all of those conversations, the world exists in both of our heads. So there's more times than not they match, and we're like, you know, whether Greg is in the vicinity or I'm doing layouts for what's happening. If we haven't roughed those pages out yet, a lot of times it's like, Greg, and I hate him as a writer for this, but you're like, okay, so remember we said they're gonna fight on this page. I'm like, okay, and what's gonna happen there, Greg? What kind of action are we talking about? Like, they're fighting. It's like some cool kung fu stuff. I'm like,
what the hell, Greg? Come on, give
hold
us
on.
something to work with.
To my defense, I don't do that with anybody else that I work with. I've been working with Marcus for 20 years, right? I learned this. God, it's 20. I learned this 19 years and 364 days ago. Like, no matter what I say, like I could, what I see in my mind, and I could say, I could be like, oh, this is gonna be great if he does it, just like I say, and then he'll go in and he'll always make it look better than what I thought it was. So if I say, on this page it's gonna be some fighting, I'm gonna trust in my compadre to create like some beautiful fighting. Like other people, I'd be like, I need a headlock on panel 1. With him, I just, let him go. Figure it out.
Let him go. Yeah.
Marcus has graduated from the school of Alan Moore. So you don't need 30 paragraphs to describe a pig.
No. It's usually we'll have a conversation in issue 2, Tuskegee Heirs. It was a specific move that Genesis was going to do on a bully, and no, it wasn't a specific move. It was Genesis was supposed to beat up a bully, a local bully, and just kind of neutralize the guy. In Greg's mind, Genesis was going to be relishing in the fact that she's got this guy locked up on the ground. I'm like, no, I don't really think that's her. I don't think that's her perspective, man. She's she's just,
Marcus has never put a submission hold on anyone. That's what it is.
And I'm like, I think she would be more just real calm, and she'd be talking it out in her mind. Yeah, that scene. Mm-hmm. And I chose I was like, okay, I think we both knew the arm bar was going to happen, or the leg bar. I'm sorry, but arm bar. Yeah, it was going to happen. But I'm just like, okay. But I really think she'd be calm and cool. She'd talk her way through the whole process. She wouldn't be, Greg was like, I want her teeth showing. I'm like, come on, man. I don't think.
I just thought it would have been hilarious for this sweet little girl to be like, I'm about to break your arm off. I thought it would be hilarious. But, and another thing that I have to mention, a lot of people might not be able to handle our style because we'll argue at each other. We'll call each other names, like brothers fighting, and we'll go through all of this stuff. But like you said, Alan, when it comes down, it's like I'm just trying to make, we both are trying to make it the best that it could be. Or maybe that was Carrie that said it. You guys are on the same.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, it's just about fine tuning and trying to make it, the best it can be.
Yeah. Actually, I have a question here. It's a good segue. What advice do you have for creatives to reconcile creative differences? And then when do you know when a collaboration is just not going to work out? And maybe, of course, that we're not in that situation, but have there been collaborators in the past who are like, you know what, this partnership isn't actually going to work out?
Sure.
Yeah, I think for us, how we reconcile is that we just, even it might not seem like it, but we actually like each other. The dude is been probably the best friend that I've had in while I've been on the planet, and I know I'm his best friend he ever had because he doesn't have any kids.
Come on, man.
But just so we're friends in life, you know what I'm saying? We've been hanging, we've been with each other through divorces and kids being born, all that kind of stuff. So it's even if we disagree about something with a comic book, we're still gonna talk to each other and coach each other through life and all the stuff that we regularly do. But that's a rare thing to have. With it, you get kind of spoiled because there's a transparency Like, I could come up with an idea and Marcus could literally be like, man, that's dumb. Like, we're not doing that. And then I'll like, yeah, that is kind of dumb. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I won't be mad at him or hurt, you know?
Right.
And it's the same exact way on the other side. You don't really get that with a lot of people. There's egos. We've dealt with people who are like, if their ideas weren't getting in, because we're kind of stringent upon what ideas will be, you know, because we beat everything up. You know?
Right.
So if you come up with an idea that doesn't fit, then we're gonna, you know, block it.
Right.
So sometimes people get like emotional, or, you know, the ego gets hurt by it, and I think that's and us like it's no egos. There was one part I was at my job, and me and Marcus, I left my desk and we argued for like probably 2 hours about a scene in issue 2. And I'm like, this is not in the book anywhere, Marcus. And he's like, well, this should be in the book. And we're going, like, we argued. And I remember like sitting down to write it, like when he finally, you know, his points were valid, and my ego at first was like, nah, that's not what it was supposed to be. But when it got to that point, it was like, okay, he's right. So I like wrote it. Like I wrote it with like, ugh, and I love it. It's like some of the best stuff
That is hilarious.
Right. You know, so, but it was like I wrote it with the passion that, you know, from the argument, it came out really well. So it's cool. But it's the ego. It's like, hey man, let me put my ego to the side and do what's best for this thing.
It really feels like all the really best ideas pass through Thunderdome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So if you see anything that we put out, then you can believe that it's been like run through the mud, garbage thrown on it, like everything. And we're like both like confident and happy, you know, to share it with the world.
Mm-hmm.
It really does help that we often, it's a weird balance, because I was going to say we actually do take moments away from creation of the book for production of the book. We have time where if we did have an argument, you know, we're not like, I got to see you tomorrow. You know, when he did have his day job, and if we weren't seeing eye to eye, there was these moments where it was like, you know what, I can calm down. I don't have to talk to him today or tomorrow anymore, you know, and I think that really does, honestly, I think it's helped a lot in our production, because there's, you know, if you're right on top of each other and you have those things, you know, for us to say, oh man, just be respectful and, you know, get past it and respect it. I think it's a lot much more difficult if you have to show up to a place, an actual building every day, sit next to that person, you know, and still talk to them. You got to still deal with them to get your job done. I think that's a little bit more of an exercise. So we kind of have a really balanced system. Even now with the COVID, you know, he has an excuse, you know, so we can still have moments where we're like, we have, you know, production, we know what we got to do and things like that. But I would say it does take, because we've talked to a lot of other creators that have teams and it's falling apart for them, and they tell us the horror stories. And I really do believe, in hindsight, looking back 20 years of working together with this guy, and there was a moment where, I mean, even though we started with the comic, Starving Artist was the name of the comic that we first worked on together. Mm-hmm. Honestly, it was a moment where we clicked personality wise, and we both had a stickler for quality. The gentleman, it's a lot of things where, you know, sometimes when things work correctly because the other person that's on your team matches your attention to detail. They match your attention to, you know, quality. And it's like, if you have to fight for that, then you probably know, that goes to the other half of your question, like, if you're constantly saying, you see how pixelated this is, don't you? You don't see that? Look, come here, look in the light. It's called pixelation And you were okay with that. And then you constantly fight for just quality.
Right.
That's probably not a good team up. And or if your ideas never really bounce and meet, me and Greg laugh a lot of times, more often, or we're both excited, genuinely excited. Like, do you know how dope this is gonna be when we get to show this? And oh man, wait till we get to the 6th issue. It's gonna be nuts. And you know, the excitement is equally matched on both parties. So that is more than refreshing, because you know that it's not, you don't ever have to wonder if that person shares your vision.
Right.
They're genuinely excited. And I think the funniest part with Greg as a co-writer is, you know, I'll start a sentence, I'm like, oh, shut up, stupid. Look, so what we're gonna do is, and he's like, you know, stop talking. I know what we're gonna do. I'm like, well, I just said that though. So, but okay, I'm glad you're there. Or, you know, vice versa. But it's those moments where we're sharing a hive mind. We're like, oh, yeah, we arrive at the same point. But it does take a lot of practice. I won't say we've had a long stint of practice, of bouncing ideas off, and yeah.
And I mean, I think we also like kind of grew together, right? So a lot of, like, I remember when Marcus first got Photoshop and he installed it on my computer, and I colored flats and realized, you know, that's not my cup of tea. You know, but so we've been, you know, we go that far back to like the first Wacom tablet, the first, you know, like, so we've kind of built, like, what we have wasn't, I wouldn't say either of us was like fully established when we met. It's kind of like what we have now is just the amalgamation of, you know, the 20 years, the, you know, the businesses and all the other stuff that we've done together. We were trying to make like business cards and stuff for people to, you know, to make money. It was terrible.
Hated that.
Remember the Instant guy? Guy?
If
I knew his name, I would say his name. I don't say names. I can't remember his name. Terribleness, man. Like stuff that we went through. But all of it helped us to learn what we don't need for our creative process. What we're not going to tolerate, you know. So
there's so much in your history that makes me think of, you know, the collaboration between the Tuppers and I on Kamikaze as well. I mean, I think we've been working together for 8 years now, Carrie and Alan. Yeah, it's amazing. But I feel like
on you guys.
Like once you find collaborators that you can gel with, that you can have good back and forth with, I mean, man, hang on to dear life, because they're rare.
They're very rare. And I have to admit, like, as a writer, especially a writer, or like the ink and colorist, like, for me, like, I know I've done my job right if like Havana and Alan see what I did and they're like, oh, that's so cool. Or like, if I can give them that moment of frisson, I know I've done my job right.
And I would say that without, you know, being too nice to Marcus on a Sunday. Like, he already knows, like regardless of what it is, you know, it's like when he puts out, you know, this art, it's like, it just really, it fuels me. Because it's like, I see it, like I print out pages, like huge comic book pages, you know, so I can, you know, write looking at those, you know what I'm saying? It's just, it's fuel. So yeah, it's great.
Well, let me ask you this. What's over the past 20 years, what's a useful business skill that you've had to pick up while working on the different properties and selling at conventions and etc.?
Useful business skill. I can say just being constantly being open to learning. You have to humble yourself to look at other people that are successful, and be open to saying, you know what, I didn't think of that. That's brilliant. Without having to copy necessarily, but literally just staying open while you're doing business, to me is, I think, been the really helpful. To humbling and saying, okay, I think we need to switch gears, man. They're doing a better job at this, and we probably need to incorporate that and do this. And for myself as well, just as a person, I've had a lot of growth personally. Just say, you know what, I'm really not killing it like I could,
Right.
because I saw someone that really showed me that. And you can switch gears, press reverse, and then make some changes business-wise. So that's still happening for me, and I think staying humble has helped a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I would definitely piggyback on humility, right? So, like our mind state is like, if we're sitting at a convention and we're not getting traffic, people aren't coming to our table, we don't think, we don't just automatically say, this must not be my crowd, or those people are, they don't know what they're missing. Like we look at, we try to build from inside out. So we're always going to be trying to figure out different ways to, to maximize our space. So we're now to the point where pretty much we're always going to try to get 2 tables. One table's not enough for us anymore. So when we're sitting and we got all Marcus's stuff and then all my stuff and then all Tuskegee Heirs on one table, we're literally sitting there like, man, thinking about what money we're not making because we can only show, 20 of his posters instead of the 7 million that he has. It's like we can't, and so it's like there's money, I can't put this, this on the table or that on the table. Right. So like we're always trying to adjust and try to keep making it to where we can grow. And then learning like the economic side, and we say, you probably heard us say this a million times on panels or whatever, but learning the economic side and the business of whatever you're going into, right? Like we learned about publishing, we learned about, like how to cut out middle people, so it's true ownership, right? We don't have people in between that are like, just taking, making a mint off of us, and we're sitting there waiting for a check to come every once in a while.
Right.
So we're like committed to owning for as long as we can. If somebody threw like a really stupid check at us, we would take the check. But until that comes, we're okay with, owning it ourselves. We get to direct it the way that we want to. And then it's all on us, right? We don't have anybody. We can't say, oh, the publisher didn't, promote our book properly. We can't do any of that. It's all on us. So we got to go do it. So, just being humble enough to, like Marcus said, keep learning. I, did a little course with a, what's she called? A publicist, who was, showing how to increase, internet, sales and all that kind of stuff. So, you're just constantly learning and trying to keep building. If you feel like, if you're sitting in the same, like in a spot and you feel great and everything's working out well, but you're not looking at how to, increase or anticipate how to, take another step up, then to me, you just waiting to, be finished.
Yeah.
I love that. You actually touch on something that I think is not really talked often, and it's, taking ownership over things you can't control. I know so many creatives who blame the convention, who blame, external factors, but never look inward and see, what can I do differently? How can I set up my table in a different way? Is the art I'm producing sellable? Is it marketable? Is it attractive to people? Is it good quality? No, I'm really glad you brought that up, because.
And are you genuinely engaging people, right? Marcus says that, like when we're talking, especially like the young kids, when we're like urging them to get, understand it's a social event. And so people are not just coming there to look at you drawing or being antisocial, so, and then there's also people have that BS meter, right? So when you're like, hi, have you heard about this book? You want to read this book? Like people know that's jive too. So You know, is it genuine? Like we're happy to be at conventions.
Yeah.
Right.
We're happy to meet people that, like, if I see you like looking and smiling or, you know, being happy about something that we produce, then that means just as much as anything.
Right.
So I'm gonna engage you. I'm not just gonna be like, ugh, here comes another one.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I was just gonna say, like, after about the 1,000th and 5th person, that could get a little hard, but yeah, it's always
yeah.
And I think we also read each other's energy. So Marcus, like we were in Seattle a couple years ago, and I had like this, my eye swole up. It was a really tough day, like for me, like some kind of allergic reaction. And Marcus picked it up, and like if Marcus is, got, a bunch of commissions to do, it's like, well, he'll literally say, hey man, I'm going in, and so then I'll step up and kind of pick up for that energy.
right.
I love that. Yeah.
I thought he was faking at first. I was like, come on, man, stop it. And then, you can't really fake swelling, I guess. I didn't see him hit himself or anything. So.
That would
People
be
were coming
impressive.
to the table like, oh, are you okay?
He's faking.
No,
Faking.
I'm not okay.
That's an unexplored superpower. The ability to make any part of your body,
Swell up.
except that part, swell.
Yeah.
Like,
Heyo.
we can go kind of dark there,
I
Alan.
need you to get off lewd Twitter.
Like lewd Twitter away from my cold, dead.
Too funny. So I always get this question, and people always ask us this question, but like, what's your advice for people trying to find collaborators out there?
Well,
Cross fingers on both hands.
yeah.
Oh, both hands.
Cross fingers on both hands.
I always tell people, like, make your skills and like your goals known to the world.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when you make that known, I mean, okay, so like I met the Tuckers through a mutual contact. This guy was a short film director. He knew Carrie because she was doing photography on a short film he was directing. And I knew the guy because we had worked in the same production studio. I was a graphic designer. He was the screenplay writer. And like, I just known the guy for a while, but he knew I was into animation. So when he learned about Kamikaze as an animated pitch, we made the connection and we've been together ever since. So I don't think he would not have got to make that connection if I didn't constantly make it known that I'm into animation, that I can draw, etc.
Right.
I think it's no different than any other relationship building exercise. I mean, if there was speed dating for comic creators, that could be a thing for conventions, man. It's really, but you're not gonna know. Any relationship you have, business, personal, or otherwise, you have to spend time with that person. You have to literally say, well, can this person respectfully disagree? Can they be mature? Yeah. Can they take constructive criticism as constructive criticism and not an attack?
Right.
Just because you told them, hey, I need this to be tweaked. Well, I mean, I think it looks good. No, it's not. You know what? That's not what I'm asking.
Bye.
Yeah.
You have to spend time with people, and unfortunately, in comics, you hope for the best, and you get started with that person. Sometimes you can do a test or two,
Right.
but if nothing goes wrong in those tests, you're like, all right, everything's good, and then 5, 6, 10 pages in, the person goes ghost, or
Are you speaking of like a particular person? Because there's a person that,
I mean, this is some growing stuff, man. This is a lot of stuff. I'm trying to throw them all in, just to say, especially for comic creation, we have a very unique kind of situation. I can't imagine any other business. I suppose it would be like a chef in a restaurant. You got, or a drummer for a band.
Yeah.
You know, you can find drummers, you can find chefs, people that like cooking, but it doesn't mean they're gonna love their job. It doesn't mean that they're gonna really mesh with the whole team.
Right.
Yeah.
If their personality's completely different from everyone else's, if their energy is off, they don't know how to communicate because they're an introvert in this art world, things like that. So it's but I mean, finding more talent. I don't think there's ever been a moment in the 20 years me and Greg have been together, I'm on Instagram saying, yo, this person's amazing. Greg, look at this person. You know, Greg, look at this person. We need to get this person on the team because they're everywhere. This is the most visible time for an artist to ever be, you know, seen, because 8,000 followers may seem like a small amount, but I found you. And I'm like, I just reached out to a young lady today. She's in DC. I'm excited. She answered my message. Random. I just found her on the little search functionality on Instagram.
Yeah.
Phenomenal artist. I'm like, I would like to work with you. Are you interested? And you know, and she answered. So it's one of those things. I have no idea anything about a personality, but you have to kind of start every relationship the same way you do as a person here on Earth until we get telekinesis or telepathic powers and helmets. You know, I can't believe you're gonna be a jerk from now on. Things like you gotta start every relationship the same, I think, unless someone comes with, I guess someone is you know, hey, I know this great artist.
Yeah.
I've worked with them for the past 10 years. They're phenomenal. They're quick. They're responsible. Hire that person. Then you can kind of get a leg up on it. But if you're looking for the right fit, you're starting a project and you want to find someone from scratch, you just literally picture it like dating someone. You're going to have to go through those growing pains. Not exactly, but it's pretty much the same thing, you know.
Right.
You never have to live with them, or maybe you do. Art is weird. So
and just to, you know, the other side of that, like for us, I think because we're at a place where we've been through a lot, and we went through like the little rat race of trying to do independent stuff and not doing it right. So, you know, what young artist hasn't been jerked over, you know? We pride ourselves on not being those guys. I literally just sent, you know, money to somebody that's working on a project for us, and your question helped me to remember that it was time to do that. So thank you. But so like for our part, we're trying to, you know, we try to explain to these, you know, young kids and anybody really how to, you know, not get caught in so many of the traps, you know what I'm saying?
I'll work for free.
Yeah.
No, man, I'll do it for free. No,
exposure.
you won't. We're gonna pay you.
Right. Yeah. We've had people that were like, I just want to
people.
work with you. And we're like, yeah, that's great, but we're still gonna send money. So
still gonna send money.
You're gonna have to deal with it.
But
that, you know, so we can actually kind of help to teach, you know, and show them how, you know, to be professional.
Right.
Because, you know, especially like we found out, like there's people, God, it's hard sometimes to not say names. There's people that they'll meet these young kids and they'll be like, hey man, I need a cover for my book, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, you get paid maybe like 2 years later, or you have to keep badgering and bothering people. So, you know, we're always like teaching like, nope, get half up front and don't release the real files until, you know, and we still do that with, like, we have a couple of guys. Well, now we have 4 people, 3 working overseas for us right now. And it's like, nope, we're paying you, give us the, you know, finished file once you get the money, you know?
Right.
So, because I think you know, everybody won't do that, but if everybody was operating with integrity like that, it would take so much anxiety out of, you know, all of these processes. Like, oh, I know I'm not going to get, these guys ain't going to pay me, but I need to try to get this done. So, you know, it's crazy.
It's one of the things that we also in the past have struggled with, because like as creators, like we're a web comic, we don't have that much money. So there's been points where we've been doing everything in our power for people that, you know, if you're going to do something for us, fine, that's great, we'd appreciate it, but we're going to do everything in our power to make sure this gives you a leg up in some way. So like,
Yes.
you know, having like somebody graduating and just graduating, working with us, and then we're making sure they're working with Eisner nominated writers, or, you know,
Mhm.
that we're making sure that they're getting connections that they need, mentors they can have, experience that they can use. So it's not just, and then after that point, once the project is published, basically being like, hey, these are yours to sell if you need more.
Just
Mhm.
Just let us know, and
Right.
then you get to keep all the profits. So it's sort of like, how do you,
Yeah,
and
like I think like if you're gonna do the whole exposure thing,
Yeah.
do it. Like we promote the hell out of our creators, our collaborators. We let them sit at the table, pitch their stuff. We sell their stuff at our table sometimes. Like I would say like we compensate our creators, but in the few times where we haven't been able to, or in the few times where the creators also like, oh, you don't have to pay me. Like we hustle so hard for the artists and the writers who work for us.
And that, like, the thing about that is also there's that, you know, professional level like of communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like Marcus, there's been times where I leaned on him to do something. Usually I pay him. If he says don't worry about it, then I'm probably not gonna worry about it. But I literally, you know, like I paid him to do my children's books. I paid him for formatting Sadaka, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm almost 100% sure he wouldn't have asked me for anything, you know?
Yeah.
But I was like, man, I know you're busy. If you sit down with me, let me give you this for, you know, and you do that with everybody, right? So if there is a case where, you know, like you said, if you're not able to compensate, we're getting ready to test one of my friend's daughters, who she, you know, just added me on Facebook, and she's got some amazing art. She just graduated from high school. And so it's like we're gonna give her a couple of tests and just see what she's interested in. We're gonna pay her for those tests, but like our whole thing is you could be a juggernaut, and we're not trying to get in your pockets. We're just trying to get you on a good route to where you can go be that juggernaut without and if we can you know, save you from a lot of the headaches and, you know, heartaches that we went through, or that a lot of other, you know, people go through, then we'll do our damnedest to, you know, to do that, because we actually do care. That's why, like, if you come to our table, you see so many like young kids there that have been sitting there for like an hour. You know, and we're telling them anything they ask, we give it away, because there's, well, like Marcus always says it. God, I feel like that's how we do, is talk about what everybody else, what each other says. But Marcus always says, you know, like these gatekeepers, man, these people that went out and got the information, they want to hold on to it, and they're not trying to give it away for anything.
Yeah.
So we're like, we jimmied the lock, snuck in the back door. Now we're sitting there giving it all away. Yep, nope, don't go there. You need a printer? I got a printer. You need this. How much are you paying for printing? Really? Okay.
How much are you charging for your prints? Oh no, God no. For commissions, you're doing what? No, listen, come here, sit down. I went through that. It's like, if we can, especially if they're trying to break into the industry. If they're you know, they're already smitten by the allure of being a comic, you know, creator, or working in that industry for the industry, like the real industry. There's so many people ready to, you know, wave that carrot, like, yeah, no, I'll give you a chance, but you're gonna grovel for it. You're gonna, you're gonna be my boot shiner for at least a year. That kind of stuff. I hate that. And it's like, why not really just, you know, if you can, start that person off the best way you can possibly start them off. which is under your wing.
Right.
Treat them as if you were, in their position. Because I was that guy. I got paid with a sweatsuit once. It was a bad idea.
It was a
Guy was
sweatsuit.
Yeah, it was a sweatsuit. He's like, yeah, man, you do this art. And I didn't ask any questions. I'm like, oh, he'll pay me. Greg was like, did he pay you? I'm like, he's gonna.
So Marcus was, what was he, like 19 at the time?
Yeah.
This guy was trying to get us to do stuff for him. I met with him a couple of times, and I was like, yeah. And I told Marcus and Nick, who was working with us, I was like, y'all don't work with him. Nick listened to me. Marcus was ambitious. so I'm like, every time I would see Marcus, I was like, did he give you your money? Because I'm getting ready to like go beat the guy up. Sorry. And then Marcus finally, yeah, he paid me. With what? How much? And he gave me this sweatsuit.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I would have, if I see this guy, and his story like shut down real quick.
Yeah.
Like if I see this guy, I'm gonna tap him up, man.
Yeah. I had no choice but to say, hey man, you're right. You're right. I should have talked about money a lot earlier.
I mean,
but you know what? You were 19, and like this is a really cool thing about Marcus. He was like 19 at that time, and it was like, okay, never again. Like you jerk, like you remember, because there were some people they wouldn't pay, or they wouldn't pay when they said they wouldn't. All of that. I feel like by the time Marcus was 21, he had like an intricate invoicing system.
wow.
Yeah, he's like, nope, that ain't happening again.
Nah.
Okay, yeah, I will send this over to you as soon as you send that final payment, sir. And he was like on it, so you learn, man.
Everybody was like, maybe we can just like partner up. And no, I don't do that. I'm sorry. Just call me when you're ready, though, to get started with the payment I talked about.
I love that.
Man, you're really gonna charge me that much? But you don't have to pay it. So whenever you're ready, just come and get it. Just learning how to say no. But yeah, if when we're talking about these young creatives, we see that they're skilled, we see that they have ambition, but I see myself in every young artist that's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and think that this is some luxurious thing, that just because they draw something they're gonna be famous. And I'm like, man, like drawing it, creating is the actual beginning of the hard work.
Yeah.
Like you spend all this time creating something. It's just like, it's very similar to creating a baby. You carry this thing for all these months and then it gets out. You don't get to chill. You got to now nurture the crap out of it and make sure it's getting the right nutrition and all of these things ongoing.
Yeah.
You can't, as soon as you stop, it stops for the most part. If you're not marketing, you're not promoting, you're not really investing your energy into it, and they don't know that. So they have to treat, if we can, we're always trying to give that that kind of shortcut bridge, reduce that curve of learning, to say, here's a better way to start. We're not paying you industry level prices, but here's some starter money. Here's some money that we can give you. Is this okay? Yeah, man, that last stuff I did, I didn't get paid at all. Yeah, don't do that anymore. If you can, always try to get something, and build up. So, yeah.
And teach people, like, as much as like we respect someone's time, even though we're sometimes late to panels. But no, seriously, as much as like we respect your time, so we want to compensate you for it. Now I need you to respect your time so that you're not just giving your time away, because like the cool thing is we've met, just like meeting you guys, we've met so many awesome people like all over the country. And I don't know if I'm Dr. Phil or something, but I get calls, man, and messages like at 2 a.m. of people, being upset or being hurt because it's like they don't have, they weren't compensated for their work, or like it like one of my friends, I saw her cover that she did in the stands in a comic shop before she got paid.
Wow.
And she did that cover like close to like a year before.
Oh, geez.
You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, I sent her a picture because I bought the comic, and she's like, ew. I'm like, oh, never mind. She didn't get paid, so it's tough.
You guys made me think of a video that I recommend to every creative out there. It's from the Creative Morning series, and it's by Mike Montero, and the video is called "Fuck You, Pay Me." And
aptly named.
Yeah, and it basically covers everything you guys are talking about. Like, I mean, with creatives, like, we are very vulnerable to some like abusive behavior when it comes to business. And I think it's important to like know how much your skills are worth, how much your time is worth, and like hold yourself to that and hold other people to that.
Right.
Because like if you don't respect yourself as an artist, you're also paving the way for other people to abuse other creatives as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
it's that whole thing of like, you see it all the time. Somebody comes to an artist and says, hey, I want you to draw my dog. And then the artist tells them, all right, that's going to be, $120. Oh, $120, that's too much. This other guy does it for $12.
Then go to the other guy then.
Yeah, go get the other guy. Obviously, he has what you want. So go get him. So
Definitely.
It's that thing, when you do that, when you like lower, like it was the weirdest thing because Marcus, when we first started hitting the conventions, his commissions weren't, he was doing commissions fairly
all night long.
So he would be doing like 30 commissions. And so like one day I was just walking around and I walked to a guy. I think Marcus is the greatest artist that ever lived. But you know what I'm saying? I'm biased. I'm a little biased. But I was walking around and I asked this guy, I was like, how much, for a commission for like something that would probably be like a quarter of what Marcus did. And the guy was like, oh yeah, man, this one starts at $175. And if you know another person, you have $50. And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so I ran back to the table. I'm like, Marcus, raise your prices right now. And then we watched like you raise it a little bit and people be like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then you keep, it's just like when you're negotiating for like appearances and stuff, and you be like afraid to ask for money, but you'd be like, hey, we're gonna need money to come out. Well, what were you thinking? 500 a piece? Oh, sure, yeah, we can get that for you. If they say it that fast, then
it's good.
Next time, 1,000 a piece, like, because they have budgets. So these people come and they're ready to spend tons of money on art, and he's giving them quality. It's not like he's just doing like what I would do, stick figure with a Kango.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And another thing I love about that Mike Montero video is that like you deserve pay even if the project fails. Even if the project doesn't launch, even if something happens with the client where they can't finish the project, like your pay should not be contingent on the success of the project.
I've paid people for like, I'm not gonna say terrible, that's rude. I've paid people for like character designs that didn't work out at all. I paid people for pinups that I'll never show the world. Because if I agree whether I like it or not, I might try to get you to tweak it, but when you show that it's really untweakable, then here's that final payment. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Don't ask me when I'm gonna post it.
Don't ask me when I'm gonna post it.
This one's going in the vault.
Yes. This is like when I die. Whoo, like people gonna be like, oh, I never knew that was.
And he always shows me, and I'm like, did you tell him that you liked it? He's like, man, I just wanted it to be done. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell him you ain't like it though?
Because I think from my standpoint, I'm not an artist, so I just feel like that default would be there. Like, well, you ain't an artist, you don't know you know, that his head is asymmetrical or these limbs don't line up. Like, you know, I feel like people are always, you know, so I'm just like, thanks, you know, for your time. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Then he complains to me about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes on podcasts.
Right.
That's funny.
That's good.
Well, hey, I think we're at time. Before we go, however, where can people find you and your work? And is there anything you want to promote in particular right now?
Sure.
Go, Marcus.
What? No, I thought she was gonna do it. All right. So we've been talking about Tuskegee Heirs. Me and Greg are co-creators, co-writers of that. It is a futuristic sci-fi action adventure series set 80 years in the future from now. Follows 5 pilots that are being trained by a descendant of the Tuskegee Airmen in a time where man flight is illegal. They get a hold of some amazing jets that transform into giant robots, and they kind of fight against these other evil robots. It's amazing. It's cool. It's exactly what I would watch on TV now, but it's in a comic form. If you go to TuskegeeHeirs.com or Tuskegee Heirs, and that's Heirs, Heirs, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook. There it is. That's what I was looking for. We have our first volume out. We're working on issue 4. Like Greg was
Coming
saying
very
earlier,
soon.
we wrapped up. Yeah, we wrapped up. We're gonna start marketing that soon. Greg has some comics and stuff. I'm creating a mobile app real soon. Look out for that. Bow. And stuff like that. Go, Greg.
And did you say Marcus the visual?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
I did.
Okay, cool. There you go.
On Instagram.
So my name is Greg Burnham. I do things, but all seriousness, you got the Tuskegee Heirs. The Search for Sadaka. It's on Instagram and the other one, what's it called? Facebook. I have a Shopify site where you can purchase the book, and it's funky. I'm gonna change it though. It's Platinum L7. I mean platform.
I'm about to say, whoa, you changed it already?
No. Cut. Cut. Platform L7. It's a Shopify site. You can find me on Instagram as Greg Burnham, Greg_Burnham7, and then Facebook is just Greg Burnham. And I really like when you purchase our books and everything because it allows us to continue to pump out the next one. Too bad the people are going to see this late because we actually have a Memorial Day giveaway. We're giving away a few loot boxes this weekend to people that purchased the graphic novel and then the first issue of The Search for Sadaka. Also, I got a thing for villains in vinyl, and it's spelled just like normal. On Facebook, me and Dedrin have that. And what else? Marcus, anything else? As soon as conventions come back.
If you feel sick, go home, stay there.
Wear masks.
Definitely keep each other safe. Love yourselves, people. It's good out here.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you guys
Y'all
for
see
chilling
Sadaka, my custom Sadaka?
Yeah.
Standing
Wow.
wow. Yeah, she's like judging right now.
Oh, okay, there she is. Okay.
Yeah. See?
Oh, okay, I see her.
Yes.
Good
I'm
there.
blind, so.
And that's, you guys know Viet?
Yes.
I actually, for my own personal happiness, I have him doing Ayana from Tuskegee Heirs right now.
Oh,
He sent me the mock-up before he colored it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He did a custom kamikaze for us.
yeah,
I've
he's awesome.
known Viet for a long time, and like I'm just so happy that like he's making all
Awesome,
these
man.
custom pop figures and everything. He's killing it.
Yeah, he made I think 6 of them for me for Sadaka for my Kickstarter.
Perfect.
Yeah, he's awesome, man.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much, and we'll catch you later.
Thank y'all. That'll be good.